Well,
So speaking of being on stage, are you guys? I'm. Are you? Are you gonna tour this album, or at least do so? You got any gigs coming up? I know touring is a pretty lofty proposition these
Yeah,
days with the expense and all. But any gigs to promote Awaken the Greylight?
No, we do want to do at least one good album release show, and either at Come and Take It or Lost Well. Probably leading to Lost Well because it's interesting who just the stars kind of have to align, and maybe when it's not so hot, try to do that. We'd love to get on some festivals because like touring right now just isn't really. I mean, post pandemic touring and I mean, slightly before pandemic. I mean, touring really wasn't what was the thing that a lot of bands that had been doing this for a while were looking to do anymore. It's just I recommend touring to any band that is just starting and you're like 21, 22. Go out and tour, have a good time, lose a lot of money, and get mad at each other.
Yeah.
But experience that because you need that. You need to do that.
You just described college.
Yeah. it's and I went on my first tour after college. So I was like, and it sucked, but I would never trade it for anything else because that experience really taught me about the business and taught me about what we do. But so I don't feel like we are gonna tour. We've had some offers, European tours or whatever, like short-term ones, but even with that, there's just so many logistics that just it becomes this mess and even so much of not just money, but like just there's a lot of mental fatigue and there's a lot of things that you're going to be jeopardizing. It's like, is this band even going to exist after we do this? Yeah. So we'd love to do something. I mean, there's stuff like Hell's Heroes, which would be fantastic to get on, or since we have a different sound on the album, I mean, even something along the lines of Prog Power would be great.
Yeah.
Because this is definitely the most prog power friendly album we've had.
Yeah.
I think it's important that people realize the different faces of Vesperian, who's been around a long time.
Yeah.
In this area, Central Texas, and has been mainly drummer Chris, and guitar Will. And I feel like, for the most part, extreme metal is the generic term, I know, but
yeah,
it seems to be, the needle moves around a little bit, and the way you're talking about this new record, I feel like the needle kind of is starting to almost crack the glass.
Yeah, I think it is. We could call it extreme metal. I say this album kind of, because it's been so long since we put something out. I think it pays homage to just 90s style music, 90s style metal, from Europe. It's got a bit of that melodic death metal in there. It's got that melodic symphonic black metal, and it's definitely got a lot of stuff that reminds me of bands like, Stradivari. So it's a very 90s sounding album. It pays tribute to a lot of that sound.
I'm sorry, did you say Stradivarius?
Yeah, I love Stradivarius.
Yeah, your Wi-Fi is a little sketchy, but
it is weird. I don't know what's going on with it.
It hadn't been too terrible, so it's all good. We're kind of used to it.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. Now I really need to go hear the record, and I apologize for not digging in deeper.
Do you think, I was going to ask you, since you mentioned Europe, and I hear obviously a lot of very obvious European influences in the music. Do you know off the top of your head what country in Europe might be your strongest foothold, or is it just kind of across the board? Do you have one place in particular that seems to really latch onto you guys?
We get the best reviews from Finland, I think, right now. I think Finland really likes our stuff, and I like Finnish stuff too. I mean,
yeah,
it makes sense. I do like, I think Nightwish was out of Finland. Old Nightwish.
They
it
love
was fresh.
music in Finland. They just love art and music.
Yeah.
So if it's fucked up, meaning out of this world, they probably like it even more.
Meaning good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll be one of those bands like Manowar that they'll play a small little bar over here, but they're playing like stadiums in Germany or in somewhere in Brazil.
That's exactly why I asked, because I could see you guys attracting a broader audience. I think Europe in general just has a greater appreciation for metal, and especially once you start adding in the symphonic elements or the power metal type influence or whatever, because it's also based on classical, and Europe has such a rich history in classical music, more so than the United States. United States has a rich history of jazz and country music and rock and roll. But Europe has this blues, but Europe has this, centuries old history and ties to classical music. And I think a lot of the type of music that you guys play and many other bands of your genre, I could just see it having a more natural, wider audience in Europe maybe than Texas or the United States.